Consider This with Carol Schrader is made possible with support from Bass & Associates, First Data Resources, and by Nebraskans for Public Television. Consider This with Carol Schrader, a news and information program recorded on the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha. From the Fireside Lounge in the Milo Bale Student Center, here is your host, Carol Schrader.
Hello and welcome back to UNO. This was a big week in the minds of many for the city of Omaha. The voters had the chance to approve bond issue for the Arena Convention Center, most specifically the Convention Center, and also approve the creation of the Mecca Board on a permanent basis. It was a big deal, and you could almost say, as I said a moment ago, that it was like bearing his third child, birthing his third child.
Would be the fourth child.
Fourth child, oh, that's right.
We have three.
Mayor Dobb, this must have been some week for you. Did you go into orbit? I was afraid you might just go through the roof.
But really excited for our future. The citizens of our community responded to a very well thought out plan, but a very complex one and a very large one. This is a big effort. And it took us 6 years to bring divergent points of view, differing opinion together, get folks to work on the idea and come together, whether they were the flat show promoters or whether they were show producers or whether they were the hotel motel folks or whether they were patron users, talking to people that were promoters around the country, visiting all over the country to see how we could do one of those kinds of projects. Government today, Carol, is sort of minimalist. Because of controversy and criticism.
You're a good Republican. You should. I would assume that would be your.
But it's always just kind of puts its toe in the water and kind of wants to tiptoe through the tulip bed. Doesn't want to upset the apple cart or cause any commotion, and so big things, which are perceived to be controversial or hard to do, never get done.
Well, big things in this day and age, considering the constraints on our taxes and the fact that we have very limited tax base.
That's right.
I mean, I would think that you would tiptoe a little bit in trying to decide what are the really big projects you're willing to stick your neck out
So
for.
it's just the idea that what Omaha did, the voters did, was to agree and support in a very proactive way Omaha doing something very big. And so, yes, I'm on cloud nine, but every citizen in our community should feel really good. This is one of those unique things that's created a spirit of liveliness, of friendliness, we're together, the city's very unified, and we see our future, I think, measured in terms of how we keep our young people here, which is, for me, what this project was all about.
Well, I think that should be a consideration in most of the states in our area, serious consideration. Now, we're reading that it looks like you can get this deal done, the job done by the end of 2003.
The goal is described this way. We want to be in that place by hockey season 2003. So we actually put our first request for proposal to tear down the southbound viaduct on Abbott Drive, right by the Asarco property on the river, and where the actual, it's right on 10th Street where you go up on that viaduct between the Asarco rehabilitation that's underway, the reconstruction of that site on the river, and where the actual Arena Convention Center will be located. That proposal, with its commitment to minority contracting, went on the street at 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning, so we hit the ground running.
They were ready to go, and I suppose a lot of the people were alerted that it would be pretty quick if it passed.
But we're talking about what someone described to me the other day as adult money. I mean, this is very expensive project.
This is real money.
This is big financing. And so what's fun now, and it will be fun, I think, for all of the community, is to watch all the other things that will happen now as a result of this. Abbott Drive, the riverfront, convention hotel, businesses. We've got people that want to do cinema theaters, supermarket, shopping centers in downtown Omaha, more apartments, more hotels, more restaurants. I mean, there's a lot of fun things that are going to happen.
Well, it sounds like it, but one of the concerns during the campaign was whether or not that at the Anchor Hotel we'd have to put out money to get that. And it seemed towards the end of the campaign, the general feeling was no. Are you really confident that that's although we may not have that anchor in the bag, that it's a done deal as far as we won't have to shell out any money?
We put out 26 letters to requests that had been stacking up for information or packets of information 4 weeks ago, have had 16 favorable responses, and 8 have already come in the last 2 weeks for their first site visit. When you think of what we're trying to do very uniquely, compared to other cities. This arena, which is 14,000 seats for hockey, 16,000 for basketball, and 17,200 for the Rolling Stones or for other
fun.
kinds of events for fun, that can be expanded to 22,000 seats without changing the roof or the walls. It's built to grow the number of seats. The flat show space is high ceilinged and 194,000 square feet with a beautiful entryway connecting the two, so that if you brought in a computer show, you'd have 245,000 square feet on one flat level, with room to add 50,000 square feet onto the north end of the convention center, and room to go from 5,200 parking stalls to 7,200. So we've got the site with a hotel anchored on a skywalk. The second floor of the convention center will have 30,000 square feet of ballroom space. We'll have a central kitchen and all the seminar and meeting rooms around it. Well, if you're a hotel developer and the city says we have the land, we have the parking, and we have this ballroom, kitchen, seminar space already within skywalk distance across the street from the Anchor Hotel, there's little, if any, need to subsidize the construction of the convention hotel. And they can put their investment into the rooms, which make the money instead of the empty space that's not used as much, which are rooms for seminars and meetings and for dances
Right,
and conference rooms.
right. They
Because
won't
it's going
have
to be
to foot the
over
bill for
right.
that, yeah.
So I don't want to call
So
it
it's
a
almost,
subsidy.
it's almost, depending on how big the hotel is, it's almost, say it takes a while to get a lot of people in that and have that really well booked.
Right.
They don't need that place filled to the gills to fill that one hotel.
Yes, but what we want to try to achieve is to say to the world as we begin to market Mecca. Have you been to Mecca lately?
Right, I get
this
it.
is the whole
uh-huh.
kind of
Ah,
thing
that's
behind
kinda
all
cute,
this.
I admit that.
Is the schleck that we're going to use to begin to promote is to say that we're so busy and so vibrant without the Convention Arena Center in terms of business and growth and our downtown airport old market relationships, that an Anchor signature hotel, one of the mainline hotels, would probably book 200 rooms every night anyway.
matter what,
No matter
that's
what.
right.
So if you don't have 600 rooms, so there's at least 400 available to bring the larger conventions here, then we'll miss out on a lot of that early ramping up of the facility. So that's why we wanted to design our total package so that that convention hotel, like you said, could make it when it started just on the business of the city and have enough room to grow as we book up the facility.
Now, there's so many topics to talk about, but I want to talk a couple more related to that. That the rest of the way on Abbott Drive,
Yes.
where the old fire
Have you driven
training
there
center.
and seen the lighting at
Yeah,
night?
it's pretty
And-
exciting.
yeah,
But
yeah.
what's on tap for that? I mean, we have kind of an industrial area there. We have land that's still up for development. I mean,
Let me walk you kind of through what I think the citizens and the good viewers of your show will recognize. From where the Heartland of America Park is, the next place over is the Asarco property,
Right.
which will have a beautiful park, great parking, the ability on a boardwalk attached to the river wall to have this beautiful, beautiful view of the river with a pad with a couple of restaurants on it, and then drive through the river wall to another parking lot and take the kids right down to the edge of the water, sit on the edge and fish on a boardwalk. It's a beautiful right back to the river, the Magic of the River project. The trail that will be on the riverfront, actually 26-mile trail from Elbow Bend at Fort Atkinson,
Right.
Fort Calhoun, will go through NP Dodge Park and Bradley Marina, around the airport and the dike at the airport, down through the center of our city on the river to the southern tip of Fontenelle Forest. We have $4.8 million in the bank already for the first 11 miles, which are under construction now, that the bond issue was passed, from Heartland of America Park to NP Dodge Park. The money's in the bank for that, so we're going to start the trail construction now, and that will meander through the dock board, where those molasses tanks are, which will be torn down.
oh, the wafting smell
Yes,
of the
and
molasses tank.
that'll all be torn down and landscaped and made into a beautiful, walkable riverfront space and green space and trees and benches and a nice jogging pathway. Then the next piece of property is Aaron Fair, which is a scrap site, and that process is underway to engage in a relocation to a new site for a very profitable and important business in our city, and that's working its way along properly. The next site's Miller Landing, which is where the Belle of the Brownville is.
Right.
That space is ready to go and is very attractive. The next piece is the Old River Dike District, which has
The Anchor Inn.
well, yes, the Anchor Inn, the Naval Museum, and Omaha Marina, all of which are working their way along in a plan that will give the trail again a pathway right through all of that to a RV park at the Old Swing Bridge, and then right on that trail all around the airport, all that. So that's on the east side of the river. Now on the west side, Abbott Drive will have 510 String of Pearls lights from right where the Williams Pipeline tank farm is, all the way past the airport to Lindbergh and the North Freeway. So, and then 17,000 bushes, trees, and shrubs, all irrigated, all finished by the end of this summer. And we'll swing Abbott Drive over to 10th Street, moving west right where the fire training tower is now,
Right.
and the old recycling center and the Kennebec Park, which is where the two big trains are.
Right.
So picture Abbott Drive, not like it is today. That will become 8th Street and still traversable. Abbott Drive will be moved and swing up to Cumming and connect to Cumming, and then 10th Street will go in a merry-go-round, which will be the front entrance to the Convention Arena Center.
I'm getting dizzy. I'm
It's
getting
cool.
dizzy. But the point is, do you think that the Abbott Drive will then sustain, you know, will we see more hotels? What
Yes.
will we see there?
And Carter Lake is already developing, you know, on that little connector to for
oh, the
Iowa.
building on Carter Lake is incredible.
There's a shopping center coming that's half in Omaha and half in Carter Lake that's soon to be announced. It's been approved at Planning Board. There is so much economic activity on that corridor, but it will be a classy, snazzy, very positive imaged environment because we've planned it with the billboards and all the rest to be cleaned up and positive and very befitting of a world-class city of the 21st century. Beyond that, the airport will then engage, now that we passed the bond issue, in a second south concourse, approximately $260 million third concourse, 21 new jetways. We're going to cure the rest of the runway lengthening so we can take twin takeoff and landings of
Right.
DC-10s and 747s.
Well, they've been on track to expand anyway, so that's...
But the Arena Convention was important because that's another attractor for passengers to come, which helps pay for that project while those who come pay for the Arena Convention Center. So the two, that's $600 million of new construction. And then the pathway to the Omaha Chamber of Commerce's industrial sites up where First Data and
Right.
the Postal Station and all our new air freight terminals are will also begin to develop, and we've got like Airlight Plastics is building their new facilities at that location. It's really booming.
Well, speaking of Airlight Plastics, where that's located, which is kind of north of the UP building, by east of Creighton, up
Right.
north of, you know,
The interstate, right?
Yeah, the interstate.
North of the interstate, right.
I understand that Creighton has bought tons of land. It would be what kind of west of the Arena Conventions, in that pocket north.
If you take Capitol exit at the interstate where Creighton is, at where you'd end up at Jocelyn, and then think of the interstate crossing the river, which is kind of a divider. It's kind of forced the city to develop up to it. The city auditorium abuts at the Zorinsky Federal Building
Right.
as you move down to the new First National
Now,
Computer
north of
Center
that-
and the World Herald's new 4 square block development. Go over the interstate north, and that's called Jefferson Square.
Right.
And there's modern equipment in there. There are hundreds of people and small businesses that are very prosperous. It's a light and medium industry area with Airlight Plastics and other businesses.
Right. But Creighton has bought up a ton of land up
Creighton
there.
is an aggressive developer in the area, and there are a wonderful set of plans under development, and Creighton will expand and do some neat things in the future, I predict. Well, I kind of know, but I can't say.
Well, but they're on track.
They're on
to
track.
Really,
And then Webster, Cumming, Burt, Webster, and California all get extended into the UP shop site. So we have twin entrance and exit ramps to the convention center and to the Creighton area, and it all works together in the next 3 years. What we're about to do here is build a new Omaha and take the downtown Dodge Street corridor that has $2 billion of new investment in it. New York could kill to get $1 billion. We've got 2, and we're working on our 3rd billion, and move the central downtown business district 10 blocks north. The impact on North Omaha and the
Okay,
space we
that was
call
my
North
next
Omaha
question.
is going to be phenomenally positive, with residential values going up and building and new home ownership with a good mix of affordable, low and moderate income housing. We've worked on parks and streets and sewers the last 4 or 5 years, and we're getting ready
and
now.
all the pools are
to jump.
open
The
up there.
pools will be open.
this summer.
It's going to be very positive.
But there was concern, and the way the votes panned out,
Yes.
North Omaha was
Yes.
the least supportive. And I think that was not totally unexpected, but how long will it take the city to prove that there was good faith in its promises, that these won't just be, you know, the least level jobs, that these are really
it's
going to
a very
impact
important
people?
question, and for my privileged service as mayor of our great city, had as a very high priority building that bridge of confidence, improving the image of a partnership between the government and the people it should be serving. And the North Omaha part of our city has been sadly and badly neglected for decades. If you look at the street work, the rehabilitation, the sewer work, sewer separation.
Which you kind of got pushed into moving up.
No,
you know, moving up on the
actually,
timetable.
I moved it up from 2027 to 2011 before anybody caught up with the idea that we were doing it, and then came up with the money to move it up to 2005. Rhetoric aside, this was a project we started when I was a candidate for mayor the first time and announced that we would do that. And so, and I'm glad to share the credit with everybody, because I think we all commonly appreciated that the work needed to be done. And an interesting point, the sewer system is the umbilical cord for residential and commercial development. And
Oh,
if you don't have that working right, then everything else really doesn't work very well. And it's a kind of a,
Yeah, if they don't have
it's
sewer
kind of a-
separation up
it's
in
kind of
North
a funny
Omaha.
way of saying it, but it's true. Whether it's new development or whether it's rebuilding an older part of a city, you got to do that in the streets and the inlets and the culverts and the lighting and the alleys. You have to work on that. A clean street and a safe street mean the kid in that
So
house
you're
has
saying
a better
that would have
chance.
had to have been done, pushed up no matter what?
Yeah,
You'd have to find a way to do it.
And the ASARCO project and the UP shop site are critical to all of that, because what we're talking about here is gravity flow sewer systems. Everything goes downhill to the river.
Well, yeah, that's what they say.
That's what they say. I'm following you. And so the whole idea is that if you didn't do the UP shop site work, which is inside of the Convention Arena Center project, and do the ASARCO project, you couldn't have moved that sewage and that wastewater through to the
wastewater
filtering
treatment.
system and the wastewater treatment plant. So you just backed it up. So you had to organize an engineering point of view to do these things, very expensive projects, should have been done long ago, in a very orderly way. That's all underway. Take a look at finishing Sorensen Parkway. Take a look at the new police station at 30th and Lake, about 30th and Ames. Take a look at 7 or 8 new businesses, the $25 million Logan Fontanelle project, Grace Plaza 1, 2, 3, 4, Campus for Hope. I can just keep going. The new market development housing, Fontanelle Park and Miller Park have been completely rebuilt. Brand new fun beach-like pools have been built in the last 5 years. I mean, we're doing things that change the temperature and the value of the human element of North Omaha, and now the physical plant work is being done, and 3 years from now, the proof will be in the pudding. But it's a partnership with many agencies, North Omaha Community Development, the small business groups, Holy Name Family Housing, Mercy Family
Right.
Housing, Omaha Housing Authority,
So you're saying
Creighton University.
in 3 years, they will feel that the good faith is
Yes.
no longer just good faith, it's a reality.
Actually, North Omaha voted much more positively, and only narrowly in several precincts in the north part of the city, against this project, as compared to the Omaha Public School bond issue, which was pretty resoundingly defeated in North Omaha. So I think we've made some progress in proving that government can play a constructive, proactive role in responding to people's concerns and needs, whether it's minority contracting, whether it's housing, whether it's cleaner and safer neighborhoods, and all of those are very high priorities for us.
You mentioned housing, and I just briefly want to touch on this. The status of the Paxton Manor.
Yes,
And you,
yes.
of course, promised that no one would be sent out of there without a
Right.
place to go.
Yes.
Where are we on that right now, just briefly?
Carol Borgensen, or Marianne Borgensen, the chairman of the Douglas County Board, who heads the Region 6 Consortium for Mental Health and Health Care. Social services are the statutory responsibility of the county, not
Correct,
the city.
correct. But
they're
you
doing a
sort of-
very good job. They're doing the assessments, so you're right. Every person there and every family of a resident there should rest very comfortably that we will care for them. Having said that, it points up a very critical need in our growing city. growing mental illness concerns. These are serious. It takes a very intensive housing, intensive care
Statewide,
delivery, and
this
it's
is
a
a
statewide
crisis.
problem. We're working now with a task force that Governor Johans has set up to address the larger problem, Paxton being only a symptom of our being kind of behind on this very important developmentally disabled, learning disabled, mentally ill and disabled chronic problem for so many people. The city's done a good job of using community development block grant money to build that kind of housing. The county at the hospital there have added rooms and beds. People in those settings need more intensive medical care. Their medicines and their clothing and their food require 24-hour care. It can't be a separate single apartment in some apartment building. So having said that, we put together a task force. We're going to devote our funds, if necessary, to vouchers. So the financial side of this relocation for those folks works well, even up to 18 months. And then Region 6 will kick in, and the state's kicking in. But we really need to expand our capacity. And we're looking now at a couple of developers to do what we did for some other physically challenged folks in our city, like at Orchard Manor in South Omaha, where we have 54 units now that have low doorknobs, low kitchens, handicap ramps and accessibility, good security, close to shopping and other things. We want to do the same thing for those that have mental illness challenges.
With the ability for nurse check-in and things like
Yeah,
that.
and we've got the
oversight.
funding in the next 3 or 4 years to make a big dent in that, but we're going to ask the state to look at raising its Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement rates. We're kind of behind the rest of the country here, and with a little bit more financial attention, then the marketplace will really actually respond to this need. Yeah.
Speaking of the marketplace,
Yes.
FDR,
Yes.
our First Data, is a huge part of our marketplace here, and came out this week that they're eyeing a little more Exarban land.
Carol, you're very astute, as you've always been.
I'm very astute when
and
I read it.
And
It
you
doesn't take
saw the promise and potential of the teaser story which appeared here in a local newspaper just recently. I must say to you that that was a premature story. The bag is out of the cat here just a little bit prematurely, and as really there are no secrets in a growing community.
We're a big little town.
Yeah, we're a big little town, but we got to be a little careful what we say. There is a wonderful, I think, powerful economic development that's occurring in connection with some plans that First Data Resources has asked the city to take a look at. I'm excited about it. We're working with them now on it, and in the very near future there will be, I hope, a very significant positive announcement, which will mean large economic impact and even more jobs for our community.
I know you can't comment on that specific plan, and I don't expect, but in theory, in theory, you know, there was comment originally when they were allowed to buy that land, you know, giving that land to the commercial development. Obviously, we want to get the best use out of that land. Is the best use further commercial development, or is there still room for more green space or dorms, or I mean, I don't know.
In this particular case, what I hope will achieve is an agreement that will create the new development and jobs on land that they've already purchased. Out of the 140 acres that was a part of the old Exarban Trust land, they purchased the 140 acres. Then they kept 70, which is back on the tax rolls. Exarban land was never taxed before.
Right.
And
UNO
70 was donated to the University of Nebraska at Omaha for the Kiewit Computer Science Institute, where 2,000 students go to school every day. It's phenomenal what's going on there. It's just mind-boggling what we're doing with interface technology and high tech and
okay, I know you get excited about that, but where are we in the land?
First Data, and the idea of what they do there in partnership with the university has much more future potential application, as the Exarban Coliseum will be torn down in 3 years as we build our new Convention Arena Center, and that land, about 100 acres that's remaining, will be put into university and science and technology related business and industry. So that's kind of what we're looking at.
So you're considering the rest of that land, more or less, is more of a percolation
for commercial job creating science and technology.
And this new thrust for the University of Nebraska at Omaha.
Yes, the partnership's been established. We just see it growing, and will be with other companies in addition to First Data.
How soon will we learn about this, do you think?
I
Just
think over the
guess.
next year, you'll see a lot of interesting, on the particular First Data thing,
Right.
In the very near future.
In the very near
but
future.
the rest of the vision for that property is, I think, pretty dependably looked at. When you see what we've done with Pacific Street and blended in
Well, I
Elmwood
can't
Park
wait till that's done.
and 72nd, which is starting, I think, with the concrete being poured now. For every day of good weather, we make a lot of progress. And that'll go all the way to the interstate, to Grover and 60th, and connect all that pathway all the way to Western at Creighton Prep. And then 72nd Street at Court Dodge is being expanded for the ability of the Westerners in our community and out to the Elkhorn Fremont Boulevard to get into UNO at 68th Street at the Thompson Alumni House by having their own lane of traffic from 72nd and Dodge. The houses are being torn
Yep, they're
down
tearing
now.
them
and
down.
That's going to be a very positive traffic flow developer, and we'll be done with that before school starts in the fall.
Okay, we only have a couple minutes, so we're going to call this the lightning round.
Okay.
We're going to go through these questions
Yes
and
and
get
no.
some quick answers. I know you
Okay.
want to give the whole
I'll
spiel.
give it a try.
Police Fire Training Academy?
I'm
Are you-
optimistic.
That site?
I'm
What is
optimistic.
what is the current site?
96th and State,
96th and State.
yes. I think it's a
How soon? Will you
very
think
good
we-
site, and the City Council will take the matter up on May 23rd.
Okay. Let's move to the library hours.
Yes.
Are we ever going to settle that?
It was done. The announcements have been made and published, and the problem there was that to respect the integrity and the independence of the Library Board of Trustees under state law, and it was their job to do that. We were prepared to spend the money and hire the people and open up the hours.
that's under control.
And that's finished, done. The decisions were made at a special board meeting on Wednesday of this past week.
All right. What about the living wage ordinance and the
Yes.
challenge that you expect? Do you expect that this thing will
I
have
don't
to be
know.
put on hold if it's
Oh,
challenged?
I don't know.
mean, you just-
I would think
But
that
you have any
it's,
inkling of where or
it's-
when?
It's ripe for a lawsuit, but that's not my job right now.
But
My
you don't
job
know
is
of
to-
anything actually in the pipeline?
I really shouldn't comment, but I really think
So you
it's
might.
appropriate to say that it's not the city's doing. We would be the defendants in a
Oh,
lawsuit.
no, absolutely.
So I really have to be careful what
Do you
I say.
expect, if it's going to happen, it's got to happen soon, right? Relatively
I don't
speaking.
know. I think that the issues are the first person that loses a contract because they were not able to bid in a proper way is probably going to be the aggrieved party that files the lawsuit, and I wouldn't predict when that might be. But
Or who it might be.
Or who it might be. But I do think that my job now as mayor of the city, whether I agree or disagree with something, and I think this was a very bad policy. It makes us a much less attractive business community, a much less attractive place for young people and minorities and small business to get entry opportunities. Having said that, my job as mayor now is to implement the law, and we're going to do it. It's going to maybe mean a tax increase or a reduction in services next year, because that $6 million that's going to cost just the city alone, city government alone, doesn't grow on trees.
30 seconds left. Are you glad that this whole fire union leave
sure.
thing appears to be
Sure,
done? And
sure.
are you really unhappy that the council took that in hand?
No, I think that it was basically a problem that they created, so I think it was incumbent upon them to fix it, and I think the fix they've arrived at has some flaws in it. It's not perfect, but I think it's a fair enough approach to it, and so I'll be supportive of that.
And you're going to sort of move on
Yeah,
in that agenda. Well,
I think that's what government ought to be all about, is we can have difference of opinion but be collegial and civil and do our homework and reach compromises and figure things out and move on.
well, TV's all about getting out on time, and I want to
Okay.
thank you so much. I know you're so excited. You can't say Mayor Dobb isn't excited about everything in this city. Thank you for joining us today,
Great to
and
be.
thank you.
Consider This with Carol Schrader is made possible with support from Bass & Associates and First Data Resources.